So the next topic is going to be on Clarissa Shields challenging Keith Thurman. So Clarissa Shields, she had been calling out fighters for maybe about 2 or 3 years. She would call out Earl Spence, she would call out Sean Porter, and she would basically just have no respect. She recently just called herself a top 3 boxer of all time. She didn't say female boxer or male boxer. She just said boxer. Okay. And essentially, she thinks that she can beat men who are professionals in boxing, okay, in a fight, in a professional fight. And, she had been coming at Keith Thurman for a while, basically saying that she is essentially somebody who can outbox Keith Thurman and beat Keith Thurman in a fight. And to me, I just think it's extremely disrespectful. And honestly, it doesn't look well if Keith Thurman takes the fight and he beats her, or if he goes easy on her, it's still going to be a problem because she's not used to taking that level of punishment from a man instead of a woman. Okay. Now she has, you know, the best resume to be considered the best female boxer. And, she's the best female boxer. And, she has beat all of the women in female boxing, and to the point where she's going up against some of her repeat opponents and she's still dominating. Okay. And at the moment, there is no Layla Ali. There is no Ann Wolf at the moment for her to face up and go up against and be potentially dethroned. So right now, she's calling out the men. And honestly, it's also to build a name within herself because nobody really knows her like that. And nobody is really watching her in terms of the pay-per-view. But like I said, it's also very disrespectful for her to assume that she could, take and beat a man in a fight. I mean, just think about it. Men, they are naturally stronger than women. Biology says it. Okay. And she doesn't even want Keith Thurman to go easy on her and to just throw a jab. Okay. And she said that she doesn't want to do a fundraiser, that's what Keith Thurman was basically trying to, talk about, maybe we could do this for a foundation or, to just give back or something like that. And Keith Thurman, he basically said that Keith Thurman, he basically said that he would just throw a jab at her, not really go too hard. Okay. And it's not like she challenged the best of the best. She challenged Keith Thurman. She didn't challenge Terrence Crawford. Okay. She didn't challenge Jerron Boots Ennis. Okay. She challenged Keith Thurman, who isn't really active. And basically, he's kind of ducking other fighters. She didn't challenge Ugas. Okay. I mean, Keith Thurman, he does have a lot of knockouts. Okay. He does. And when it comes to, women's, boxing, you know, yes, they may spar, you know, men and stuff like that to prepare for the competition that they're going up against in the women's division. But they're not going as hard. Okay. Most of the time, they're not in shape like that. Okay. And, they may not have as much experience in the boxing ring. Okay. And also, they're not professionals for the most part in terms of, who the professional women may be sparring. Plus, when you add into the fact that, they're not going up against anybody that's, you know, very big in weight and stuff like that in terms of, their punching power, they're not doing that. It's very toxic of her to assume that she could beat, somebody who has, great power in terms of the professional boxing world. It's toxic of her to believe that. And I don't think that we would ever hear this from any of the other professional female fighters because they fight 2 minutes around. Okay. And there's no, heavyweight women's division. Okay. Some of these fighters who are at the 135, 140 division, 147 division in men's boxing, they hit 2 weight classes above their division, which is why they're always sparring a man, okay, who is 2 weight classes up, sometimes 3, okay, okay. I mean, as a matter of fact, I went through something similar at my own boxing gym that I used to go to. I used to go to a boxing gym and I was regarded as one of the hardest hitters, if not the hardest hitter in the boxing gym. Okay. I mean, I was hitting way above what anybody that is typically my size hits. Okay. In fact, everybody I went up against in the boxing ring, they all said that I hit hard. They all talked about my power. They all talked about how hard I hit. In fact, my own coach, he would talk about it for at least, 10 to 15 minutes. Okay. But we did have a female trainer who hadn't been there for a year. Okay. And, she basically was, talking as if she owned the place and stuff like that. And obviously, she called out me. I mean, in terms of the way that she was talking very rude and disrespectful, trying to tell me things about, what to do in the ring. And she never even sparred anybody. Okay. She was talking as if she beat me 1,000 times in the boxing gym. And she never even sparred me. Okay. I mean, it's just straight up delusional. And, I remember one time I was, doing my ab work and, working on my core and stuff like that. She tried to say my core is weak. And my reply was, you never took a shot from Gio. And I did. Gio is about 200 plus pounds. All right. He's stocky, about, 5'7". And I took a shot right to the core and I ate it. Stood right there. All right. Gio never knocked me down, never hurt me, but I took that shot. All right. And that shot was and that shot was supposed to bring me down, but it didn't. All right. In fact, in that exact fight, I won. I won those rounds. All right. He took the first round, and then I won. Then I won like the remaining three. Okay. But I was in there with everybody who was bigger than me, but she didn't respect that. Okay. Because she was delusional, thinking that she could, just talk any old type of way to just anybody. It wasn't even just me that she was talking to. All right. She was talking to all the other men as well, being disrespectful. And it ended up, eventually, getting people to not want to come there anymore. And then the gym shut down. Okay. And I was there before her. All right. But that's not necessarily on her. It's on the head coach that was, the man that didn't properly, put her in check. Okay. Now, as far as Clarissa Shields, on the other hand, you know, I couldn't possibly, outbox Clarissa Shields. You know what I'm saying? Because I have never, you know, boxed for the amount of time that she had. She's been in the ring longer than me. Okay. She knows little tricks that I don't. All right. And, you know, you would definitely have to give her credit in terms of being able to outbox me. Okay. Now, let's just say this. If I were to have been in the ring for, the same amount of time as her and not go pro and stuff like that, it would not be a good time for her. Okay. So, it's just the way things are nowadays. I mean, you have transgenders, you know, fighting against MMA women. That's not right at all. But the delusion is when the woman actually thinks that she could compete instead of just forfeiting against somebody who is trans. Okay? The woman, she thinks that she could take the trans on and potentially beat her. Next thing you know, her skull is fractured, her jaw is, broken, and, she has a broken eye socket and all that just from going up against a trans man or a trans female. So that stuff happens. All right. Then I've also heard recently about a trans volleyball player playing in the women's league for college. She spiked the ball and essentially it hit somebody in the face that was a regular woman by biology, and she ended up, getting a concussion, a severe concussion. But the delusion is on the women because they didn't forfeit. They're not standing up for their own rights at that moment. What they're doing is they are essentially going up against something that should not be happening at the moment. Okay? It's the same thing for the trans women in Leia Wood. Okay? I mean, like, literally, she was swimming, and the record was, by far the best record in the women's division for college, right? She did her thing, right? She won by a mile, and it wasn't even close. But the thing is, that person is biologically a man, and that person is competing in the women's division. But yet at the same time, instead of the women just protesting by not competing, they let it happen. Because you want to know why? They believe that they could win. What kind of stuff is that? That's delusional. I mean, I think I remember something else happened with the men recently. I mean, it was a few years ago, but I believe that I saw a Colorado game, I believe, and they had a female place kicker. Okay. And it was football, the actual sport football, not soccer. And the female place kicker, she was coming from soccer. Okay. And she couldn't even kick the football 30 yards down the field. But I believe that it is definitely on the men surrounding her. And it should have been like, this is stupid. I'm not going to compete. You took away somebody's scholarship at that time. That's not fair. It's not. And I've even heard of, you know, women, trying to, you know, play high school football or college football. That's not right. I mean, I believe there was a movie where the person who played Aquila in the Bee was the quarterback. What kind of sense does that make? It's just delusional. All right. But I will also say this, it's not just delusional on the women. All right. You also have to blame the men. Okay. The fathers. All right. As far as, Clarissa Shields, you know, firmly believing that she could knock out or outbox the Keith Thurman. Okay. For the fathers who have their daughter be a place kicker or play receiver or play running back for football, or the fathers go up, or the fathers allow for their daughter to go up against a trans man. Okay. It's the father's not giving the proper guidance of the daughters at the time. Okay. Now, I'm not saying that they can't play sports. Okay. I ain't never say that. I ain't never say they can't compete. I'm never saying that there's not any great, you know, women athletes out there. There are tons of them. But it should be separate when it comes to, male and female who is competing. All right. There should be no crossover. And when it comes to the transgenders trying to play in certain sports, they should be separate from the male and the female. Okay. They should have their own leagues where it's transgender swimming, it's transgender boxing, transgender MMA, transgender football, transgender basketball, because it's not fair. It's not fair. Okay? So that's my perspective on the situation. Hopefully, they never fight. And obviously, Clarissa Shields, she's using this to promote herself. And, it does look bad because Keith Thurman, he isn't going up against anybody who is, you know, extremely good at the moment. So he does look like he is essentially ducking the Jerron Boutsennis, the Earl Spence, the Terrence Crawford, the Ugas. Okay. It does look like he is ducking and he is in the win. We don't know who he's fighting. Okay. And to me, I think that, it's wrong for Keith Thurman to even consider it being a fundraiser or something like that. Okay. Because it's going to look bad, if he hurts her really badly. Okay. No matter what anybody says. Okay. The optics are never going to look right for Keith Thurman. Okay. If he beats her up, it's going to be like, oh, shoot, you beat down a woman. All right. It's a problem. Nobody's ever going to get used to what happened, despite it being in a professional setting. And she called him out, not the exact opposite. Remember, Clarissa Shields, she said that it's Floyd Mayweather who's better than her, Muhammad Ali, and then it's her. That's the amount of delusion that she is, thinking it. Okay. So that's my perspective on the situation. And hopefully, this will end. But, she hasn't just called out Keith Thurman. She has called out Sean Porter. She's called out Earl Spence. She's called out a slew of other professional fighters who are great at their craft. All right. But I'm not saying that she can't fight. All right. She's great in her field as a woman, and men are great at their field as men. And, it's just a biological difference for when it comes to bone density and also, level of strength and body mass. Okay. What we're able to endure is different. So that's my perspective on this.